This is Chapter 10, The End of the Road, Part 3, from a story called The Time-Dilated Generations, by Esteban Gallardo. The mission wasn't over yet. To truly ensure that the Endeavour systems were fully stable, it had to complete 3 full orbits around the Sun, a final stress test before the deceleration process began. At this unimaginable speed, the ship was covering distances that defied human experience. For context, Neptune, the farthest major planet from the Sun, required 165 years to complete a single orbit. Daniel would do it 3 times in just 22 hours. This meant that, once again, Daniel became the first human to experience the most extreme time dilation ever recorded. His perception of time had slowed to 1/7 that of those watching from the moon base. For every hour that passed for Daniel, 7 hours passed for Ellie, for Leo, for every human monitoring his journey. But unlike before, Daniel had nothing to do but observe. Everything was automated. With the quantum entanglement communication, Mission Control had instantaneous access to the ship's systems. No matter what happened on board, Command Control could react 7 times faster than Daniel ever could. All he had to do was wait. After 3 orbits were completed, the tension eased and the team celebrated, though more moderately than before. For Ellie, there was only one priority left: start the deceleration protocol and bring Daniel home safely. So when she received a direct summons from Thomas Brown, the main administrator of humanity, she was immediately on edge. This was highly unusual. What could possibly be so important that it couldn't wait? Wanting to get it over with quickly, Ellie arrived at the small, private meeting room. The space was modest, designed to hold no more than 10 people. She sat across from Thomas, who welcomed her warmly. "First of all, on behalf of all humankind, I want to congratulate you on this extraordinary achievement." His voice was calm, full of respect. "There are no words that can truly capture the magnitude of what you've accomplished." Ellie nodded, feeling impatient. "Thank you, sir. I just did what I could, and this wouldn't have been possible without my team." Thomas smiled. "Of course. We recognize this was a team effort, and rest assured, they will all receive the recognition they deserve. Mankind owes a great debt to you all." Ellie nodded again. This was all well and good, but it felt like stalling. "Thank you, sir. If that's all, I'd like to—" She started to rise from her seat, but Thomas cut her off. "I'm sorry, that's not all." His voice was calm, but Ellie froze. Something was wrong. She slowly sat back down, her chest tightening. Thomas continued. "A month ago, we received a special request." Ellie's stomach dropped. A request from Daniel Green. Her heart skipped a beat. A cold dread crept into her soul. What was going on? Her fingers clenched against the armrest of her chair. "In his request," Thomas continued, "Daniel stated that, over the last year, you and your team have successfully tested going beyond 99% light speed." Ellie felt her blood turn to ice. She did not like where this conversation was going. Yes, it was true that her team had experimented with pushing past the 99% threshold. The reports didn't hide it, but they had also made one thing abundantly clear: the risks increase exponentially beyond that limit. Ellie knew the numbers. Theoretically, yes, higher speeds were possible, but at 99% light speed, the smallest particle in space, something as insignificant as a speck of dust, could carry the energy of a bomb upon impact. The larger the ship, the more devastating the consequences of an unexpected collision. And the generational starships, the ones meant to carry thousands of people, would be far larger and heavier than the Endeavour. Yes, Ellie had recognized that stability could be maintained at higher speeds, but she had also acknowledged the enormous dangers. And now, sitting across the room from Thomas Brown, she had a terrible realization. Daniel had known all of this, and he had still made a request. Her breath hitched, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. What had Daniel done? "Daniel recorded a message for you," he said, his voice measured, careful. He wanted you to hear it in his own words. With a single press on his tablet, the projection screen flickered to life. Ellie's heart stopped the moment she saw him. Daniel's face appeared, his features somber, yet he still tried to offer that signature smile. But it was forced. It wasn't him. It was an expression she'd never seen before. A deep, crushing terror overtook her. Something was very, very wrong. "Hello, Ellie." Daniel's voice was gentle, but it carried a weight she had never heard before. If you're watching this, the mission has been a success. You should be ready to bring me home." He paused, exhaling. The words lacked joy, and Ellie could see him struggling, grappling with the emotions threatening to consume him. "I know I'm not making this easy," he continued, "but I knew you would never let me take this decision." Then he looked directly into the camera. "I've requested to test the spacecraft beyond 99% light speed." Ellie's world shattered. Her body froze. Her mind refused to process the words she had just heard. No. Daniel would never go behind her back like this. It couldn't be real. "I feel like a piece of shit right now." Daniel's voice wavered. His eyes, those steady, reassuring eyes, were clouded with pain. "I've always told you the truth, Ellie, and the last thing I ever wanted was for you to remember me with betrayal." He took a deep breath before continuing. "The truth is, I'm dying, Ellie." Ellie's heart clenched. "Cancer." Her vision blurred. "From cosmic radiation exposure. Doctors gave me just barely 2 months to live." "No." Ellie felt paralyzed, unable to speak, unable to breathe, unable to do anything but stare at the man she loved more than anything in the universe, watching him tell her he was leaving her forever. Daniel swallowed hard. His voice was lower now, more uncertain than she had ever heard before. "Maybe my reason seems selfish, but I wanted to make one last contribution, one last push to give us a better chance out there." He forced a small, trembling smile, but Ellie could see through it. He was breaking, and so was she. "I hope you can forgive me," Daniel murmured. "I know I couldn't tell you this beforehand, but I also know that your work, your incredible, brilliant work, can go further than anyone imagines. And I want to prove it. I want to show the world what you've built, Ellie. I want them to know just how extraordinary you are." Tears burned in Ellie's eyes, but she did not blink. She refused to miss a single second of this message, because deep down, she was terrified this could be the last time she would ever see him. Daniel exhaled, his voice quieter now. "My request was reviewed by a committee. They went over every test, every report. They analyzed every variable." Ellie knew this was true. She had documented everything, including her reluctance to push beyond the limit. "They approved it," Daniel said softly. "And if you're watching this, we're already there." Ellie clenched her fists. "I just hope you can understand, Ellie, and let me do this." He leaned slightly forward. "The last thing I want is to leave this world knowing I've hurt you beyond repair." His voice broke. "I love you, Ellie." The screen faded to black, and with it, Ellie's entire world collapsed. The room was silent. Ellie stared at the blank screen, her chest tight and her pulse pounding in her skull. She was paralyzed, unable to move or breathe. In the span of a few minutes, she had been confronted with 3 devastating truths. Daniel had betrayed her trust. Daniel was dying, and Daniel wished to spend his final moments pushing the limits of human survival. Her head throbbed, her vision swam, the emotions too much to bear. Love, anger, disappointment, sorrow. They all crashed at once, a storm raging inside her. And yet, despite everything, she knew what she had to do. She forced herself to breathe. She lifted her head, her eyes clear now. "We will proceed with Daniel's wish," she said, her voice strong, authoritative. "But the second I see any instability, I will abort the mission. Are we clear?" Thomas gave her a solemn nod, his voice gentle. "Of course, you will be in control at all times." Without another word, Ellie rose from her seat and left the meeting room. She moved with purpose, her emotions still roaring inside her, but she would not break. Not now. That was Chapter 10, The End of the Road, Part 3, from a story called The Time-Dilated Generations, by Esteban Gallardo. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next time.